Coming up on Colonial SportsCenter, the men's basketball team took on Wagner in the opening round of the NEC tournament.
And our very own Sam Anthony sits down with Hobie Baker nominee Zach Lynch.
All that and more coming up next on Colonial SportsCenter. Hello and welcome to another edition of Colonial SportsCenter. I'm Dan Kitchen.
And I'm Kristen Kudlow. We have a jam-packed show for you, including two very special in-studio guests.
We also have recaps from women's basketball and hockey, but for now we're going to start with men's basketball. The Colonials entered the first round of the NEC tournament led by the same player who's been leading them all season, Rodney Pryor, who was just named an all-NEC first-team selection. The Colonials would need Pryor and every other player on their roster to be at top level to pull off the 8-1 upset against the regular season champion Wagner Seahawks. You're going to have to go to the highlight to find out if they were able to do that, though. And don't let this first play fool you. There were very few deep shots in this game. Wagner's going to go up 6 with one of only 3 made threes all night. Colonials sticking with Wagner through the first half, though. With the help of a nice Stephen Whitley layup there, RMU was down 5 entering the second half. Bigger hole for the Colonials, now down 11, but this Billy Giles dunk began a 17-6 run for the Colonials that helped them eventually tie the game at 42 apiece. Davon Stewart, Rodney Pryor getting in on the run. Nice reverse layup from Rodney Pryor, and then Stewart's going to keep this one himself. Nice left-handed layup over 3 people. And then the run was going to be punctuated with Isaiah Still gets the and one, hits the free throw, but then Wagner would start to get all of the breaks, like that unnecessarily long shot at the rim, and be able to convert the rest of the way and end the Colonial season. So despite fighting back to that tie with just under 6 minutes remaining, the Colonials came to a disappointing end with a 59-50 loss to the top-seeded Seahawks. Isaiah Still led all players with 13 points, and Rodney Pryor contributed 10 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 blocks in his final game in a Colonial uniform. RMU struggled shooting the ball, missing 10 of their 30 free throws and failing to hit a three-pointer on all 13 of their attempts.
Now the men's hockey team finished up their regular season away from home as they traveled all the way to New York to face off against Canisius. Now with a win, they could clinch an AHA title. Could they do that? To the highlight we go to find out. I don't know, Dan, what do you think?
I think they might have a chance.
Well, at 2:03 into the game in the first period, Chaseco lightly shoots, and Timmy Moore is going to get the rebound and puts it back. Makes it a 1-0 game, RMU. Now the Griffins are going to answer right back when Jeff Murray deflects a shot that Jeff Fortman shoots and gets it right past Schaefer, makes it a 1-1 game. Moments later, Ryan Schmelzer catches Schaefer out of place, and he's going to score, makes it a 2-1 game, Canisius. Now later on, our special in-studio guest, Zach Lynch, he's going to take advantage of a sleeping defense when he passes it to Greg Gibson, who gets it and ties it up 2-2. Going on to the second period, the game's going to be tied at 3. 11:39, Tyson Wilson brings it around the boards and passes over to Lynch, who taps it in, and a wide open net makes it 4-3 RMU. Now 5-3 game, RMU still leading. David Freeman's going to make it a 6-3 game when he fights and gets it past Simon Hoffley. The Colonials came out victorious, defeating the Griffins 6-3. Greg Gibson tallied 2 goals and an assist on the night, while Matt Cope, Zach Lynch, and Tyson Wilson all had multiple point games as well. Because Canisius couldn't stay out of the box, it cost the team 2 goals, while the Colonials went 2 for 8 on the power play. With the win, the Colonials clinched their second AHA regular season title, giving them the bye week this coming weekend.
Entering a game with the conference championship already locked up, the Colonials were free to let loose and just have fun in the second half of a weekend series with Canisius, and that would end up being horrible news for the Golden Griffins. RMU was able to punctuate a season full of offensive firepower with one final blowout by a score of 6-2. Greg Gibson made his final home contest count, scoring a hat trick. The Colonials had tremendous success on the power play once again, scoring 3 goals, 2 of which came from senior David Friedman. Seniors Brandon Denham, Zach Lynch, Matt Cope, and Tyson Wilson were all able to record a point in their final regular season home game, and Terry Schaefer picked up the win in his final contest as well.
With their victories over Canisius and clinching their second AHA title, the men's hockey team were ranked 18th in the latest USCHO poll. This marks the second time this season the Colonials have been ranked in the top 20 and first time following their 4-0 shutout win over top 10 Michigan. The Colonials have this weekend off to rest and recuperate before skating back onto the ice next week, where they will host either Niagara or Canisius.
Greg Gibson had a hat trick that helped lead his team to a conference championship and now picked up several awards to cap off an amazing weekend. Gibson was named Player of the Month by the Atlantic Hockey Conference. He was also the second star of the week from NCAA Hockey. No stranger to earning awards this season, Gibson has already earned Player and Star of the Week honors before, in addition to being the AHC's Player of the Month back in October.
In June of 2012, former men's hockey captain Chris Kushnerick was diagnosed with stage 4 testicular cancer. Kush not only fought on the ice as a Colonial, but also off, as yesterday ranked his 3rd year in remission. Kushnerick took to his Facebook page yesterday thanking those who had supported him, saying, quote, "It's another day where I am reminded of all the kind people who have really stepped up and made a big difference for me and my fam when we needed it the most. This protein shake is for you guys," end quote. Kushnerick continued his hockey career in Florida with the Everblades and currently lives in Ottawa. Now, Dan, we didn't get to see him play, but always a great Colonial off the ice and on the ice. But another Colonial that we have in studio with us is Zach Lynch, and our very own Sam Anthony is going to be sitting down with him right now.
Thank you, Kristen. I'm here with hockey superstar Zach Lynch. Zach, thanks for coming.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Now, you played with Kush, right, your sophomore year. They told him that he wasn't going to be able to skate again, and you ended up getting to skate alongside him. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I was there for his comeback. He started skating with us again, so it was nice to be around him for such a tough time, such a tough battle. So to be around him, he's such an inspiration, one of the most genuinely good humans that I know. So he brought a lot of inspiration to the rink, a lot of hard work as Chris Kushnerick. So yeah, we learned a lot from him.
Yeah. A really great story. And we'll have more interview with Zach Lynch coming up next. But first, we're going to have Colin Wilson here to talk about women's basketball and more on the women's hockey team and how they did in the AHC playoffs. Coming up.
Looking for these? You drive buzzed. It could be one very expensive ride.
First, you gotta make bail. Then pay me to get your car back.
Your insurance premiums will go through the roof.
And my legal fees just keep adding up. All told, it could end up costing you $10,000.
Buzzed, busted, and broke. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
To Maddie, congrats on paying off all those student loans.
Finally, right?
How'd you manage that anyway?
I started tracking my spending, changed a couple of habits.
Wow, I'm kind of living paycheck to paycheck right now. I don't even know how I'm doing it.
Well, have you tried saving a little?
I want to, but where's that money gonna come from? Bill collectors, they're the worst. Am I right?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
Not home.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Welcome back to Colonial SportsCenter. 2016 graduates Brendan Alfieri and Nico Brett are making milestones in their post-Colonial career, both signing deals with their respective pro teams. Starting goalkeeper Alfieri signed with the Pittsburgh Riverhounds of the United Soccer League this past Tuesday, while Brett signed with the Portland Timbers of Major League Soccer. Brett was selected by the Timbers in the second round of the 2016 MLS Super Draft and was the 40th pick overall. Both players have had extremely successful careers as Colonials, and we wish them the best of luck in their future.
The women's basketball team took their final trip away from the SportsCenter in regular season play this past Sunday as they faced off against Wagner. The Colonials clipped the Seahawks' wings with a final score of 79-49. Jasmine Nwaji led overall with an impressive 24-point performance, while both Megan Smith and Anna Nikista Malampru tallied 14 points each for the Colonials. Just 2 days later, the women's team would wrap up their regular season and NEC play at home as they faced off against a familiar foe.
In their final game of the regular season, the RMU women's basketball team was facing their direct competition in the battle for the third seed in the conference tournament. A stifling defensive performance helped the Colonials win 57-43 and beat out St. Francis for the higher seed. The Colonials were able to limit the Red Flash to just 5 points in 2 different quarters and rode a 17-point first quarter lead the rest of the way to victory. Ananiki Stamalampru led the Colonials in points with 16 and was the only Colonial to reach double digits. The Colonials kept control the entire game, never allowing St. Francis to tie the game after the first bucket. We have in studio a very special guest with us, CSC correspondent Colin Wilson. Colin, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and now first question. This team is riding a huge wave of momentum entering the NEC tournament, but they also have a very small ball-oriented lineup with a lot of quality shooting guards in Stamalampru, Rebecca Navarro, Ashley Ravelli. Does the team that plays small ball, are they going to be able to contend in the NEC tournament once they get into the later rounds and play some bigger teams?
See, I believe so. Like you mentioned earlier, Ananiki Stamalampru has been leading every game with 16, 14 points, and also Ashley Ravelli is shooting well as of late. They have guards like Kima DeShale off the bench, and everything that they do revolves around shooting. They're a very good 3-ball shooting team. Rebecca Navarro earlier this season led the NCAA in 3-point field goal percentage. So really, I think once you get into the conference tournament, you have to be able to shoot. You have to be consistent, and I think that's what their strong suit is.
Now, we've known the Colonials to be that threat beyond the arc. Now, because of that, we haven't really seen too much from those post players, those performances. Do you think that going into these NEC tournament or into the tournament, it's really going to play factor?
I think they have enough depth in that position. It's just a matter of young talent there. You have Jocelyn Jones, Megan Smith, and Michaela Mulrain, all sophomores. So once you see them really come in to what they are, I think you'll see a Colonial team that's physical and able to get boards and contend with any team in the conference.
All right, and it's been a storyline throughout most of the season. You have Coach Sal, it's his final season leading this team before his son takes over. Is that something that's helped fueling these players, helping them play at a higher level to try to send him off with another conference title?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, all these players have been around for Coach Sal's tenure, and along with seeing Coach B kind of rise into what he's going to be next year as a head coach. So they really want to get a taste of Coach Sal's last year and also see what the team's going to be like with Coach B as the head of it. So I think that it does play a factor, especially, in Coach Sal's last games here coming up. That it kind of uses like a motivation factor.
Now, this junior and senior class, they made it all the way to the NCAA tournament just 2 years ago, and now Sal was able to get that ring. Do you think that they have the ability to do that again, especially since they kind of have a primarily young team?
I do. You have a little bit of experience 2 years ago with Ananiki Stamalampru, Ashley Ravelli, Randy Jackson. So I think that with that experience, it really helps, especially with a young team, a lot of sophomores in the lineup. But really, it's been inconsistencies this year that has kept them from really going over that edge. But against St. Francis, you saw a team that really looked put together and ready for this tournament. So I really think that they can be successful and will be successful.
All right, Colin, thank you very much. I'm sorry we're out of time, but thank you very much for joining us on CSC.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we hope to see you on again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.
In their best-of-3 series, the RMU women's hockey team wanted to start things off with momentum and avoided needing to play from behind to stay alive in the conference tournament. Not losing a game to the Lions in 4 meetings in the regular season, the Colonials had the upper hand going into Game 1. They had to have some offensive firepower, though, to hold pace with Lindenwood, and halfway through the first, the Colonials turned the puck over in the worst possible place right in front of the net, and Shannon Morris-Reed shoves it past Jessica Dodds for the early lead. And RMU wasn't done witnessing turnovers. We go into the second year, RMU. This is actually, if I'm correct, the second or third game in the series, because RMU was actually down 4-0 to start against Lindenwood in the first game. But I think this is actually the third game, but it's going to be get some good highlights here. Anyway, RMU ended up going down 4-0 in the first game against Lindenwood before they started off a good comeback to score 3 goals in a row there. We'll see some future success there from the Colonials. Game 3, and last period there, we're going to go ahead and just keep recapping Game 3 here. As we sit around, Ashley Vesey brings the puck around the back of the net. She's going to go ahead and throw it over into the middle. It's all right, it's depressing to talk about a loss anyway for RMU, so we'll focus on the 5-1 win for them.
If you have success, why not highlight it, right?
Exactly. We'll watch a 5-1 game twice. Good hockey from the Colonials there.
And get another nice tap
get another tap in. Mackenzie Johnston there. That was the nail in the coffin in Game 3. That's the one that helped send the Colonials to the second round of the playoffs when they're going to play Mercyhurst. And see, they weren't celebrating like that after the first game, but after the third game, you can tell they were really happy to be able to make it. They're going to play the top seeded Mercyhurst in the next round of the tournament, so they might not want to celebrate for too long. They have a tough contest ahead of them.
They definitely do. I mean, they're coming in here, they have those 2-game victories coming out on top. Unfortunately, that whenever that first game did happen and they came down, I was there. I told myself, I was like, you know what, this is exactly what happened earlier on in the season, and they came down in that, they lost in that first game, but then in that second game, they were going to come back because less than 24 hours later, both teams went back onto the ice after that first game and really tried to come out here really strong. And exactly that's what Brittany Howard did, because she's going to come out here, shows off her puck handling skills, drives it right towards the net, and has a nice little backhander there, makes it a 1-0 game. RMU into the second period, taking the lead early. Now later in the same period, Ricky Mayer passes to Kristen Welsh, who wrists it towards the net, and she's going to score. Makes it a 2-0 lead for the Colonials. We see a lot of that success coming through once again going into that third period. RMU is going to lead 3-0. The Lions trying to generate a little bit of offense as Shara Jasper is going to score, and you're going to see a replay once again. She just deflects it right in, tips it, corrals the puck, and then she's going to get it right in past Bailey. Jessica Dodds did not start that game, which was actually a very surprising call, because especially after that first game loss, where Dodds let in quite a few goals, probably one of her worst performances of the season. Bailey came in and just dominated game 2 and 3.
And that's a storyline going forward there. Are the Colonials going to continue riding the hot stick of Bailey there in net, or are they going to switch back to Dodds? Dodds is probably one of the biggest reasons they were able to make it to this part of the season, but then Bailey steps in after Dodds gives up 4 early goals in the first game, and all of a sudden she's a brick wall in net, and she carries the Colonials to 3 wins. I think 2 wins, and they got a comeback in the first game.
they got the comeback, and Bailey's did play in that first game. I think you should just, as a coach, just let Bailey play. See how she does in Mercyhurst games. If you start to see that she's kind of letting up a lot of goals or a lot of rebounds earlier in that first period, I think then you have to make the right call. Do you keep Bailey in, or do you put Jessica in? Because what's going to happen is that what happens in practice preparing for this Mercyhurst game or future into the playoffs, it's going to be what goaltender can basically do. Anything you can do, I can do better type of thing. Because if Dodds does really, really well in practices, then I say go with Dodds. However, Bailey, she had that incredible performance against Lindenwood. If she starts doing that as well as in practices, I think that she might be the probable starter.
Now, speaking of some other Colonials who were riding hot streaks entering after this playoff series, going into the Mercyhurst series, you had Ashley Vesci, Amanda Pantaleo, Mackenzie Johnson. They all had great games, especially in those 2 wins to close out the series. Are they going to play as much of a factor? Because, I mean, obviously the goalie is the most important position out there, but then you also need that offensive firepower, and they provided a lot of it against Lindenwood.
Oh, absolutely. If you can control the puck, which is what these players have done throughout the season, and keep it out of your offensive zone, or out of your defensive zone, and keep that offensive pressure on the opposite team, you're really going to do well going into the postseason. And with that being said, the defense also has to stay up, because if your goaltender does start to slack, if you start to see that they are having some issues, the defense has to step up to keep the puck away from their goaltender.
All right, well, we're sorry for the technical difficulties on those highlights, but after the break, we've been talking about it all show. We have the 3rd leading scorer in all of college hockey, Zach Lynch, in studio. We asked him one question earlier. He's going to get a lot more from St. Anthony coming up on Colonial SportsCenter.
Can't get enough RMU sports coverage? Check out RMU-TV's newest sports show, Sports Talk in the Berg. Topics include Bobby Moe athletics, as well as everything you need to know about Pittsburgh sports. You can watch every show online by searching Sports Talk in the Berg on YouTube.
Start a story. Adopt at theshelterpetproject.org.
Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
No siempre es fácil ser padre,
Do you have panda asthma too? Does that run in the family? This is the home of the most priceless kung fu artifacts.
pero cuando haces un esfuerzo,
Dad, we're not supposed to touch anything. Oh, sorry. Go long, son.
siempre vale la pena.
Whoa!
Los momentos más pequeños pueden tener un gran impacto en la vida de un niño. Toma el tiempo hoy para ser papá.
I am gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
Llama al 877-4DA-411 o visita fatherhood.go para obtener más información.
So, I just moved in with his family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already. You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
Welcome back to Colonial SportsCenter. I'm here with senior hockey player Zach Lynch. Zach, thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so you're the hometown guy around here. You know, grew up in Pittsburgh. What's it been like to play 4 years of college hockey right in your backyard?
It's been pretty special. It was one of the main reasons I chose to come here, obviously, to be able to play in front of family and friends and play in the same home rink that I played in growing up. It was pretty special and one of the main reasons I chose RMU.
Now, you've grown up with these 9 seniors, including Greg Gibson and Brandon Denham, with the winningest senior class in RMU history. What's that been like?
Pretty special. From day one when I met them, I knew there was something there that most groups don't have, and right off the bat I could tell how competitive all of us were, and that was a good sign because everything we would do freshman year, playing baseball, volleyball, every video game, no matter what, everyone wanted to win. So we're a pretty competitive group, and that's translated onto the ice pretty well, and it's a big testament to our class of why we've been winning so much is the will and the how much everyone wants to win every night. So.
Now, you guys have some big expectations going into the conference playoffs here. How is that experience in that senior class really going to help?
Yeah, that's huge. We've all been there before. We've played in Rochester a couple times, so it's good to have that experience. The first year, it's kind of like you have the nerves and everything, but now we can just go there and take care of business. And we've seen it all. We've seen pretty much every situation we need to, so we'll be able to know how to handle anything. So that experience is huge for us.
Now, I've been looking at the bracket, and there's the potential you guys have a rematch with RIT, the team that knocked you out last year. Do you guys want to play RIT? Kind of get some revenge for last year?
Well, Mercyhurst knocked us out last year.
Oh,
so,
my mistake.
But we still have the potential to play with them as well. So, I mean, either way, we're comfortable playing any team at this point. We've seen everyone so far. We've seen everyone's best game so far. So we're just going to take what comes at us and see what happens from there.
All right. Now, you just tied former teammate Cody Wido for career points. What was that like? Was that a good feeling to get there and tie him?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty special anytime you can put your name next to a record, obviously, but it's as much as it's an individual record, it's more of a team as well. I couldn't have done that without my line mates and teammates throughout these 4 years, and it's really a testament to how good our team has been these past 4 years. You don't see many players in any sport really breaking records on bad teams, so it shows how well our team has been doing and how well the program's been doing.
Now, going into back to the conference playoffs here, who do you think is the most dangerous team that you guys are going to have to face?
Oh, besides us?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. When it comes down to the playoffs, those one-game series, if we get to that point at Rochester, it's really anyone can win on any given night. So it's tough when you get there. But if I had to pick a team, I'd probably say either Holy Cross or Air Force. We've had some tough battles with them throughout the past year or two. So Air Force, all right. Holy Cross.
Yeah. All right, now let's get into the team a little bit. Who's probably the most interesting guy on that team that really kind of gives it a little bit of character?
That's pretty easy. I'd have to say Greg Gibson. He's He's probably the loudest one in the locker room at all times. You can find where he's at just by using your ears. He's pretty easy to hear, but he's a good time to be around, and brings a lot of fun to the ring.
All right, well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Coming up next, we're going to have some upcoming games here for RMU. More on Colonial SportsCenter coming up next.
These boys are my heroes. They come every week.
You made
to
me
spend
think twice, and I was
time
like,
with my children.
maybe I'm wrong.
At
but
Robert Morris
no,
University,
I mean,
every student is expected to reach out to others.
They can teach them something no one else can.
Wisconsin.
They're role models to the children, and homework comes way before sports. Their grades have improved, and their lives are just a bit richer.
Okay.
What they do for my kids is truly wonderful.
Change someone's life. It changes yours forever. Robert Morris University.
I call them my lifeline.
People don't realize how quickly you can end up on the street. One thing happens in your life, medical bills you can't pay, you lose your job, and that's it.
At Robert Morris University, every student is expected to reach out to others.
We went to DC to work with the homeless. They sell a newspaper called Street Sense. Thought I'd help.
But if you want to give more, you can.
This person came up to me and said, "Get a job." And for 2 hours, I felt what it was like to be homeless.
Good morning. $1 help.
Some of the other students said, "How can we change this?" And I said, "Sometimes you can't change the world, but you may be able to change one person's world." My dream? Open a psych clinic for people on the street.
Change someone's life. It changes yours forever. Robert Morris University.
All right, and we're back, and we have multiple Colonial teams in action in this upcoming week for next week's Colonial SportsCenter. Some
Yep.
conference tournaments coming up as well.
It's going to be a real exciting weekend. You have on Friday tomorrow, you have women's hockey who's going to travel all the way over to Mercyhurst, and they're going to play them at noon in the second round of the playoffs. And then, of course, you have women's lacrosse tomorrow as well, who are going to be over at Joe Walton Stadium against St. Bonaventure at 4 p.m.
And then on Saturday, we have men's lacrosse taking their turn at Joe Walton. They're playing Air Force at 11 a.m.
And then Sunday's going to wrap everything up where the women's basketball team goes off against their first round foes, Fairleigh Dickinson, at 1 p.m. A lot of playoff sports happening this weekend.
Exactly.
Definitely tomorrow being the number one.
And we've touched on the women's basketball and hockey teams that are both going to be in action this weekend. But I feel like we have to sort of add a positive note to one other team. The men's basketball team, we talked about them losing. We've talked about good things with every other team. I don't want to end on a bad note. Going into the future for them, they've got a lot of young talent on there. So this season may have been a disappointment, but I think there's a lot of promise going into next season for them, especially if Coach Toole sticks around another year.
Oh, absolutely. It's all going to come down to see how Toole's going to handle next season. I mean, I don't count them out completely because, especially last season, they had a lot of difficulties. They made it all the way to the NCAA playoffs with less than 10 players on the bench. They made it to they made it past the first intro game and then going on further, and they had an incredible season. This season, of course, once you have a complete high, you have to have a little bit of a low. But going into next year, Toole's recruiting class, I expect to be very strong, and I think he's going to reevaluate the way that he does his recruiting, especially with how the season kind of has gone so far.
They'll have a new kind of dynamic lineup as well, because a lot of their leadership coming back is guards. This isn't a big team. You have Aaron Tate coming back to be probably the starting center again, but then you have guards Isaiah Still, Kayvon Stewart. They have the most playing time out of them. Maddie McConnell, he's been a starter all season. Jordan Lester got time off the bench. Stephen Whitley. They're a team of guards, and unless they bring in some tall muscle underneath, Aaron Tate's going to be the only thing they have. So you're going to see a lot of 4 and 5 guard lineups out there for the Colonials, which might not be the best plan in the NEC, but at the same time, it's the best option the Colonials have to work with.
Oh, absolutely. Going to be interesting to see how he goes at that.
All right. That's all the time we have for this week's edition of Colonial SportsCenter. Be sure to tune in 2 weeks after spring break to catch up on all the highlights from the last 2 weeks of RMU sports.